6'9". He came upon a 12-year-old female. She appears to be stabbed.
She appears to be what?
Stabbed.
Stabbed?
Correct.
Okay.
Sir, you still there?
Yes.
Hi, sir. So are you with this 12-year-old female?
Yes, she says she's having trouble breathing. She said she was stabbed multiple times.
Stabbed multiple times?
Yes.
Okay, sir. Are you with her right now?
Yes.
Is she awake?
She's awake.
Is she breathing?
Yeah, she's breathing. She said she can take shallow breaths. She's alert.
Okay, stay with her. We're sending the police department.
In today's video, we look at what can happen when a famous internet meme becomes the motivation for murder. Anyone who is familiar with internet pop culture has probably heard of Slenderman. The character was created for an online contest in 2009 and struck a chord with viewers. Soon, short stories were being written and posted. These stories were called creepypastas. And although not all of them were related to Slenderman, he remained one of the most popular characters. Slenderman was usually portrayed as unnaturally tall and thin, with no facial features whatsoever. His main goal seemed to be stalking, abducting, or traumatizing people, usually focusing on children. It became the internet equivalent to telling ghost stories around the campfire, spooky, harmless fun. Naturally, this appealed to the teenagers and young adults the most. Unfortunately, it also drew in people who were obsessive and unable to separate fact from fiction. On May 31st, 2014, Anissa Weier and Morgan Geyser attempted to carry out their plan to murder their friend Payton Bella Leutner. They had been planning the murder for several months and decided that Geyser's birthday party sleepover would be the perfect opportunity. Geyser ended up stabbing Leutner 19 times, while Annisa encouraged her and held Leutner down so she couldn't escape. During questioning, both girls claimed that they had decided to kill Leutner to prove that Slenderman existed and to win his favor.
Okay, thanks for waiting. I just want to let you know that it's 3:45. Sometimes it's hard to know what the time is. You kind of lose track. Do you want to come on over by the table here?
Sure. Should I slide the chair over too?
Yeah, you can slide the chair over. It's fine. That's okay. That's loud in here, right? Echoes?
Yeah.
So I need to know the story as to what happened today, because it's been quite a day, you know, and even stuff that happened, you know, yesterday. And I kind of know bits and pieces, but I don't know the full-on truth. And the only people that know, you know, really what happened are people that were in the place where it happens, okay? Your parents know that you're here talking to me, okay? And
Are they scared?
I'm glad they're so glad that you're safe. We were scared for you guys, okay? And before I find out the truth from you, before I find out what the real story is of what happened today, I need to read you your rights, your Miranda rights. Have you ever heard of that before?
Okay.
Have you ever seen a show where sometimes on TV they read people their rights, like cop shows and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like when somebody gets arrested, they say, so you're under arrest for da-da-da.
Right. And then they read them their constitutional rights, okay? So I'm going to read those rights to you, okay? And the main point is here, I still don't know what happened, and I don't know who did what, and I need to know that today, okay? Because, you know, some serious stuff happened today, and I need to know, okay? But I can't ask you any of those questions until I read you your rights, okay? Okay, so first off, I'm going to write today's date down. Do you know what day of the week it is today?
Saturday.
Yes. Okay. I don't wear a watch, so I use my phone. And it's A-N-I-S-S-A, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And your middle initial.
E.
And how do you spell your last name?
Weier.
Okay, and what's your date of birth?
November 10th, 2001.
Okay, and so that makes you
12.
Okay. And what is your home address?
My parents are divorced, so do you want the one that's registered with my school?
Oh, do you, is it 50-50? Do you spend half the time at your mom's, half the time at yours?
My mom works third shift.
Okay.
So every day after school, she picks me up from the bus stop and takes me to her house.
Okay.
And then after my dad's done working, he picks up my little brother and I up.
Okay. What address is registered with the school?
1520 Unit K, Big Bend Road, Waukesha, Wisconsin.
Okay. And that was Unit K, like King?
Yep.
Okay. And do you know your home phone number?
We don't have a home phone there.
What number, if I wanted to call you, I'd probably get a hold of you through your dad or your mom, right?
I don't remember my dad's number, but I know my mom's.
Okay, what's your mom's number?
262-893-9347.
It's mom's number, okay. What's your mom's name?
Christy Lynn Weier.
Okay. All right. So you go to school, right?
Yes.
And you're at Horning.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this your, what year are you?
This is my first year. I'm a sixth grader.
Sixth grader. Okay.
Weir is oddly given the situation. There's a slight amount of hesitancy in her voice, but nothing more than one would expect from a 12-year-old who is alone in a room with a strange adult. To hear her speak, one would not suspect that she was just involved in a near-fatal attack.
Okay, so I'm going to read these rights to you. You have the right to remain silent. If you decide to give up that right, anything you say may be used against you in court. You have the right to consult with an attorney and have an attorney present during any questioning. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided to you by the court. In understanding these above rights, are you willing to speak with me and tell me what happened today? Is that a yes?
The silly thing about this was I didn't know I was in danger until after Morgan stabbed Payton, or Bella, as people call her.
They call her Bella?
Uh-huh.
Okay. You go to school, Payton?
Yes,
Bella? Okay. So, can we start from the beginning? So you guys, this was a birthday party, right? Or, okay, kind of tell me what happened.
So, there's this website called the Creepypasta Wiki.
Okay.
It's full of, like, horror stories that are meant to purposely scare you through, like, online literature and all that.
Okay.
And there's one of them called Slenderman.
When Weir refers to the website, her word choices show that she knows that it is fiction. This is an important fact to keep in mind when listening to her future statements.
And it's, like, really, Slenderman.
Slither?
Slenderman.
Oh, Slenderman, like a skinny guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he has these proxies, or servants, as people call them.
Okay.
Basky and Hoodie. And Morgan said, "Hey, Annisa, we should be proxies." And I was like, "Okay, how would we do that?" And that was around end of December, beginning of January.
Okay. And a proxy again, what is a proxy?
It's like a servant, or like an apprentice.
Okay, and they're a servant of who?
The whichever they kind of don't have a choice. Slender's like the really big, he's like head of it all, supposedly.
Okay, so Slender's the big guy.
Yeah.
The top guy. And the proxies are his puppets.
Yes, that's how people put them, puppets.
Oh, okay. Boy, I never even heard of this before. Okay. And it's called Creepypasta Wiki?
Yes, ma'am.
Like W-I-K-I?
Yes.
Okay.
You can find it online.
Sure.
Search something like I Love Jack, which is another killer.
Okay.
There are killers and proxies. Proxies are apprentices to killers, and killers are either by themselves or have proxies.
And the killers have the proxies do it for them?
No.
Okay. There's either killers or proxies?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know that much about proxies and all that.
Okay.
I just know what the internet has told me.
Okay. So the internet has told you that the Slender, is there just one?
Yes.
Okay. So Slender has a bunch of proxies, a bunch of puppets.
Yes.
And amongst these puppets there are also killers?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So proxies or puppets and killers are not the same?
Yes.
Okay.
Like on a triangle chart, Slender would be up here.
Okay.
And then it'd be like killers and then proxies.
Okay, so killers outrank the proxies.
Yeah. And then there's another creepypasta that's supposed to be really powerful. It's like Zalgo or something. It's supposedly a demon with 7 mouths that speak in 6 different tongues, but the 7th mouth doesn't speak until the world is about to end or something. That's what the wiki told me. Okay,
so wiki meaning the encyclopedia on the web, right?
And people can create their own short horror stories and all that.
Oh, okay. That'd be kind of fun, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so back in December or January, Morgan told you, like, hey, we should be proxies, type thing.
Yeah.
And you said what, like?
I said, okay, how would we do that? And she said, we have to kill Bella.
Okay. Okay, and do you know why she said that? Like, why she was thinking that?
Because we had to supposedly prove ourselves worthy to Slender.
Is she really into the creepypasta? Is she like...
Yeah.
So you said, okay, well, how do we do that? And she said, well, we have to kill Bella, meaning Payton.
Yes. People call her Bella.
Okay. Why is that?
Because in like kindergarten or something, there were 2 Paytons. So the Payton that we were talking about said, just call me Bella. It's my middle name. And she went by that ever since.
Okay. And so she said, well, we have to kill Bella to prove ourselves to the Slender?
Yes.
And what did you think of this when she was telling you?
I was surprised, but like also kind of excited because I wanted proof that he existed.
The investigator asks Weir what she thought about the idea of murdering her friend, and Weir's reaction is not normal. Feeling excitement at the idea of another person's death, especially a friend, should not elicit feelings of excitement. This reaction is more consistent with a person who has a mental disorder.
There are a bunch of skeptics out there saying that he didn't exist. And then there's a bunch of photos online and sources online saying that they did see him.
Okay. So a lot of people believe that Slender actually exists.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of talk about this on the internet, I bet, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you at first thought...
At first I was kind of surprised and didn't want to do it, but later I didn't want to leave Morgan all by herself out here because who knows how many creeps are out here. So I decided to go along, tag along, plus I let it be kind of prove skeptics wrong.
Okay. So did you think that you actually had to kill somebody to do it?
Yeah.
Like, for real?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's another killer called Jeff the Killer on the Creepypasta Wiki, but he is actually a real person, Jeffrey Woods. He supposedly murdered his whole family, so Martin and I are found that out, and we're just like, okay, so we know at least Jeff is real.
Okay.
So we got our hopes up and thought that everybody else was real.
Okay. And then Jeff is called what online?
Jeff the Killer. And supposedly he went insane, so he burned off his eyelids and took a butcher knife and cut a big smile into his face. And his supposedly long black hair about down to here, and ice blue eyes. That's what the wiki said also.
And he killed a bunch of people?
Mm-hmm. Including his own family. That's what the news report said anyway.
Okay. So he's considered a Slender?
No, he's considered a killer.
He's considered a killer. Okay. Hence Jeff the Killer.
Yep.
Okay. And he's known to exist. News reports say that he exists.
If you go on Google Images and search Jeffrey Wood's news article, a bunch of news articles will come up, and then there'll be a picture of, a 17-year-old boy with, who kind of looks like me, but it was a black and white picture, and he had kind of the same hair as me also.
Okay. Did you cut your hair to make it look like his?
No.
No.
It was just coincidence.
Coincidence. And so you guys knew that Jeff the Killer, an actual killer in this triangle, exists, so you thought it would be exciting to find out, hey, if we can be a proxy and prove and do this, kill Bella, then we know that Slender exists.
If we saw him, actually, we think we see him sometimes.
Okay.
Like when we were walking up to where we were going, we saw him, I saw him out of the corner of my eye on this side.
Okay.
And then Morgan said she heard a twig crack when no one was moving.
So today, after everything happened with Bella, when you guys were walking, you thought you saw Slender as you were walking?
This was after Morgan stabbed her.
Okay. So you thought that possibly you would see a Slender?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you think that you guys killed Morgan? Payton Bella?
Yeah.
Okay.
At first Morgan said I should do it and that she didn't know what to do. So I handed her the knife that she brought with and said, you do it, I'm too squeamish. And she got the knife from her house. We asked her mom if we could play outside at the park, and her mom said, sure. So we went playing at the park, and then I said, hey, why don't we go take a long walk? So we walked, and then there was this grove of trees that we went into, and then we were trying to play hide and seek in the trees to, distract her. So Morgan and I were also debating who does the deed, and at first it was me, but like I said, I was too squeamish.
This was not a childish spur-of-the-moment impulse. Weir and her friend planned this out. Weir chose a weapon, and both of them lured the victim into an isolated spot and tried to distract her so she would be easier to kill. They are old enough to understand the consequences of their actions, but they lack the sense of wrong and right that most people would feel. At the very least, they should have been nervous enough about feeling caught to hesitate, or to have to make more than one attempt.
And said, no, you do it. So, Morgan said, whenever you want. So, I finally just had enough and said it now, because I was starting to get a little freaked out. And then Morgan jumped on top of Bella and started stabbing her repeatedly, and that's when I turned around, because I couldn't stand to see that.
Okay.
And then, the whole time, Payton was screaming in agony. saying stuff like, I hate you guys, I'll never forgive you, and I trusted you. Still, and, sorry. So we told her we were gonna get help, but we really weren't. We were gonna run and let her pass away. So we ran. We ran and we ran through like this marshy, woody area. And then we crossed a street, then we went to another wooded area where we saw like a campsite or something. And then that's also where we found the bug spray too. That was in Morgan's bag.
Okay.
So we were walking, we went to Walmart and we used the bathroom and refilled our water bottles, and then we left, and then Morgan forgot her gloves in Walmart, so the whole time she was saying, I wish I had my gloves, and then...
Which Walmart was that?
It was the Mega Walmart down by Prairie Elementary School. I don't know.
Oh, the big
street.
one? Right by the highway there?
Yeah. Whenever it rains really hard, the part where cars have to drive in floods all the time.
Right, okay.
I don't know street names very well.
Okay. So Morgan forgot, what kind of gloves did she have?
They were black lace ones. They went down to about here, and then they had like the snug hole, and they were black and lace. She had 2 of them, but she forgot them in the bathroom.
So the fingers are visible? Like it just starts right here, right? And it's just
and then there's a stub hole. And
right.
Like I said, it was lace, so
right.
you could see your hand through it.
Okay. And she forgot those in the bathroom?
And then after that, we started walking in one direction, and we were walking for like an hour, and then I complained about being hot. And this was close to a cemetery.
Okay.
And so we sat, and I drank some water, and then we started up again. Then we just kept walking, and then I forget where, but I think we kept walking for a while until one time, walking in a straight line until Morgan said this way, because we were in downtown Waukesha by then.
Okay.
Yeah, we walked all the way downtown. We walked this whole time.
So you walked from Morgan's house to Walmart.
And then
that's by Highway 59, by that highway, right? Yeah, that busy road. So you went from Morgan's to Walmart, left Walmart, and then you started walking.
We found a cemetery, that's it, and I think it was close to Prairie Avenue or something, because by the gate it said, please go through Prairie Ave entrance.
Okay. Is that a railroad tracks right there?
Yes, there is.
Weir and her friend abandoned the victim when they thought she was dying, which doesn't match up with their supposed desire to see if Slenderman was real. They had not expected to panic or deal with the effects of adrenaline, and they also probably thought there wouldn't be so much of a struggle. Weir is still not very upset, and she is able to recount their movements without showing a lot of emotion.
So we just kept walking, and then when we got downtown to like, I forgot what it was called, it's like a memorial site or something downtown.
Okay.
It's like there's a bunch of stone and marble and benches. It's like
to buy kind of some water.
Yeah, it was like Eric's Memorial Park or something.
Veterans Memorial,
Yes.
maybe, where there's some flag poles, maybe?
And then there was like 1 or 2 big stone pillars, and then a bunch of smaller stone pillars with plaques on them.
Yeah, okay.
And then after that, we turned left, and then kept walking. We walked across a street, and then went up a hill, and at the top of the hill, I asked Morgan for some water, because we put the water in her bag. So I asked her for some water, because it was like an hour and a half since I last drank some water. So I asked for some water, and then we sat down and talked how far away we have to go. And then,
why do you have to go far away? What was this discussion about?
supposedly Morgan found out that Slender lives in the middle of, Slender has this big mansion that all the creepypastas supposedly live in, and it's supposedly in the middle of Nicollet National Park, or Forest, or whatever, up in Lowell, Wisconsin. So we were going to walk the whole way there, and I realized it's really, really far.
Because she wanted to walk to Slender?
She knew that that if we asked someone for directions or anything, the police would probably be called, because what isn't strange about a blonde girl with creepy eyes walking around with a blood-covered jacket, and then a girl next to her looking like this, wearing winter boots. So we just kept walking, and then...
That hill that you were talking about, was that up by, like, the hospital?
It was, I think it was close to, like, a Ricky Rococo's or something. Like, a Ricky Rococo's was here. Here was the Veterans Memorial. We walked this way, across the street, and then there was this hill up here. So we walked up the whole hill, and we kept going straight. And then, so we just kept going straight, turning like every few seconds, because Morgan supposedly memorized a map, and she knew where we were. And then, the next thing I remember was telling Morgan that I know where we were. We were close to the sign that says, "Welcome to Waukesha," from Pewaukee. We were close to there. I told her that we could either walk up a hill and take a longer way around, or we could go straight and cut through the bushes and stuff close to the Fox River, I believe it is. The Fox River.
Did you go over the Fox River Bridge by Frame Park?
No.
Is that where you're...
Well, here was the big hill I was talking about. I don't know the street names that well. And then there was a park down over here. I remember that. And then there was a big road that had a turn where you could go up the hill, and then like 3 or 4 lines where you could go straight. So I told Morgan that we could either go straight or go up the hill. And then Morgan said we should go straight, it'd be faster. So we cut across the street, and we're walking along the road.
Did you go across another set of train tracks?
Yes, I believe I did. So, we were walking, and then finally I said, "Morgan, I'm thirsty. Can I please sit? And I'm hot. Can I please sit in the shade?" And she said, "Sure." So we sat in the bushes and all that, and we talked for like 30 minutes. I tried to eat like 2 different granola bars or something. One was an organic peanut butter one that I didn't like very much. I only took like 2 nibbles and said they tasted disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was another...
As she tells her story, Weier is able to go into detail about mundane things, such as eating granola bars and how many bites she took. However, when she talks about Leutner, she speaks more broadly, unless she is asked direct questions. This may be because she is trying to distance herself from events, or it could mean that she struggles to connect to other people and even see them as people.
And then kudos bar.
Much better.
I only took 1 bite of that, and then I spit it out because I didn't feel so good.
Okay.
I really couldn't eat anything because I was still thinking of Bella laying in the forest area where we left her dying. Sorry.
Okay.
So we finally, Morgan said we should probably keep walking before the police get on our tails.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were walking, and then we heard people, like construction workers or something, working on a building. Wait, no, not a building. Like it was a power transformer, I believe. So Morgan led me through most of the woods until we walked like 100 yards, and then we got out and then started walking next to the road again. And then we're still going straight, and I believe there was a bridge with a freeway on top of it,
Okay.
and then another hill that could like go either up on top of the freeway or this way towards the airport.
Okay.
So we were walking, and then I had a total nervous breakdown and blamed Morgan for everything. I said, "You stabbed her. You wanted to do this. Look at what Morgan did." And Morgan's not one to cry very often.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally she just let go and started crying. And then I just needed to vent because I was scared.
Mm-hmm.
I was scared. And I was scared, A, for myself, and B, for my family, because after we left Payton in the woods, close to the marshy area that was nearby, she said, "Oh, and there was one thing I forgot to tell you. I kind of sort of made a deal with Slender, saying that if we didn't kill Bella, that he was either would or could kill our families and everything we love, and I don't want that to happen, so that's why I did this." And then I got really scared then and started like speed walking and trying to get myself out of there. I even started like singing to myself.
Even when Weier cries, it is very weak and almost like she is doing it because she knows it is the expected response. She is able to stop very quickly and move along with her story.
And trying to calm myself down, and then where was I?
You guys are walking,
Oh, yeah.
and
I have a nervous breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
And then Morgan finally starts crying, and then I stop crying to be the quote-unquote big sister that I am, because we're so close, we're like sisters.
Okay.
So, I said, "Stop crying." I laid down, and like, there was a bunch of rocks close to the road. It was like, it's called a shoulder or something. So I was laying down there, and Morgan thought I was giving up and letting, like, the hawks and everything come after me.
The hawks?
Yeah, we
Okay.
saw, like, 10 hawks.
Okay. Okay.
So, I said, "Morgan, stop crying. It's really cold down here." And I'm trying not to feel so hot, because, again, there was a river, like, right there, and we were here, but there was a bunch of mosquitoes last time we were near a river, like, that big, and we didn't want to risk being bit with, like, malaria and everything.
Is the highway, the interstate, still in front of you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we kept walking, and then, we kept going straight until when I was still laying on the ground, I actually said, I've had enough of this. I want to call my mom. I want to go home. And Morgan said, if you do that, you'll spend your life in prison. Either that or be executed.
Why did she say that?
Because she told me that the consequences for murder were being murdered yourself, I believe.
When did she tell you that?
After I said I wanted to call my mom. Because there was also a nearby bar or something.
Okay.
So I said that I wanted to call my mom. She told me that I either spend my life in prison or be executed. So then I got scared and started walking again, because I really don't want to die. I was really scared.
Sure.
So we kept walking, and then finally it was really hot. It was close to noon, I believe. So it was really hot outside. I was wearing this, winter boots still, so it was really hot. And then, the river was still on this side of us, and then there were two column things holding up the bridge.
Yep.
I said we should lay down on the side that slanted, and, like,
Cool off.
Cool off and all that. And she's just like, if we do that, people will get suspicious. So, we hid behind the round base of the pillar stand closest to the water.
Okay.
And then she started looking through her pictures and had another breakdown.
Okay.
And then, after like 30 minutes of me trying to calm her down and her crying, we finally started walking again, and then we kept walking straight for a while, and then we saw Steinhoffel, and I said, Morgan, do you want to get some more, do you want to refill our water bottles? Because by that time, they were empty. So she said, sure. So we crossed the street, went into Steinhoffel's, and then
the furniture store, right? Oh, I was thinking, when you asked me Steinhoffel's, I was thinking Stein's, the flower place, you know, the gardening center?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay, Steinhoffel's, that furniture place, okay.
And then,
so you went to, did you walk into Steinhoffel's? Okay.
And then we filled up our water bottles again, went to the bathroom, and then we were told that upstairs there was free lemonade, free cookies, and free candy. Morgan needs to keep her sugar levels up, otherwise she goes crazy. So, we went up there, we got a glass of lemonade, we got 2 cookies each. Morgan only ate one and almost cried, saying, I can't eat this one, when she started playing with the other one, and then I told her to save it. So, and then so I told her to save it. So then she said, okay. And then she started packing her things up again. So I threw away my stuff and grabbed 2 things of fruit snacks, because I thought, hey, if we want to keep our sugar levels up, we may as well eat something kind of healthy.
Okay.
So,
grab some fruit snacks, okay.
Throughout the interview, Weier makes sure that the blame is placed on Geyser, and she was more or less an unwilling accomplice who was afraid for her family. This doesn't fit well with certain facts. such as Weier choosing the weapon and not knowing that her family was in danger from Slenderman until after they had stabbed Leutner. She also never questions where Geyser is getting her information or how she saw Slenderman without Weier being able to do so herself.
So we grabbed those, and then Morgan said, we have to get out of here. So we got out and then crossed the road again, started walking on the side of, here's Steinhoffel.
Mm-hmm.
We crossed two roads, one going this way and then one going this way. So we crossed those, and then we started walking around an exit towards Milwaukee.
Started going down towards the freeway?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then Morgan said, I have to sit down, and then started crying again. I think that part's kind of fuzzy.
Okay.
And then, so I said, okay, wait. So we, started talking on another shoulder part of the exit, and then Morgan said, I'm really hot, so we went down by the tree where the deputies found us, and then Morgan said, I'm not laying down in this. It was that high, so we weren't going to lay down in it, but we found an area kind of below the ground and all that, so Morgan started contemplating on whether or not we should face our consequences or keep going. So then I laid down on the grass, and that's when one of the deputies said, put your hands in the air where I could see them, and then they got us.
Okay.
And then, when one of the deputies was talking to me, I believe his first name was Todd.
Okay.
And his last name started with a C, I think.
Okay.
When he started talking to me, I said, I'm scared. I was told that if I didn't do something for someone, my family would be in danger. And then he said, you're safe now, don't be scared. Then he put me in the back of the car, and then I watched Morgan. I don't know what they said to her, because I couldn't hear anything.
Right.
And then after 30 minutes, they brought us here.
Okay. Okay. When Morgan said to you that if we don't do this for Slender, our families and loved ones are going to be killed, do you honestly believe that?
Well, yeah, because he could be anywhere from 6 feet to 14 feet tall. He's, like I said, a tall guy who constantly wears a suit with a red tie. He doesn't have a face. His skin is white. And at his own will, he can, exploit these tendrils from his back and, strangle his victims. From what the creepypasta wiki said, he targets children most.
Okay.
So I was really scared, knowing that Slender could easily kill my whole family in 3 seconds. So,
how did you learn about Slender and creepypasta?
I first heard about it on YouTube. I was watching a Minecraft mod showcase by Sky does Minecraft or something.
Okay.
And it said, it was the creepypasta mod. So I was like, hey, what's a creepypasta? I watched the whole video, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. A few months later, I asked my friend Kelly, the one who I got the skull bracelet from.
Okay.
I asked her who that Jack or Jeff or killer was from the creepypasta. And then she told me about Eyeless Jack and Laughing Jack. Laughing Jack is supposed to be a clown that also targets children. And then Eyeless Jack, he wears a blue fawn mask, no mouth, 2 big black holes for eyes that are oozing this weird black ooze. And then supposedly he eats human kidneys.
Wow. Are there a lot of your friends that are into creepypasta?
So far, I only know of a few Kelly Newkirk, Morgan Geyser, and then there's Logan Geyser, but he doesn't know much about them. He just knows, like, basic stuff, like Slenderman and Jeff the Killer and the word creepypasta.
Is Kelly really into it, too? It sounds like you really read a lot about this. Like, is she...
Yeah, whenever I'm really bored, I go on my iPad and I go to the creepypasta wikia, and then there's a button you can click for a random pasta, and I read whichever random one comes up.
And so in reading these, you truly believe that Slender exists, that there's Slender out there in your mind?
Not anymore, because we, like, asked for his help when Morgan and I were having nervous breakdowns, and he didn't do anything. Nothing happened.
Before this today, leading up to and even after.
While we were walking and having a nervous breakdown while I was laying on the side of the road, Morgan said, "Slender, if you're listening, please help us." And he says, having a nervous breakdown, and then she started kind of crying.
But you truly believe beforehand,
I believed, but now I know that it's just teenagers who really like scaring people and making them believe false things.
Okay. Did you feel that when you're planning this, the birthday party and everything?
12-year-olds can be somewhat gullible due to a lack of life experience, but they aren't stupid, and they are old enough to separate fact from fantasy. Claiming to believe that a faceless 14-foot man exists is a stretch.
Was this thought in mind to do this to
Morgan said that at her birthday party, while Bella was sleeping, we were gonna duct tape her mouth shut, stab her in the neck, and then leave with, like, memories of everything.
This was last night at the party?
Yeah, but we didn't stab her then. We were too sleepy and tired because we were at Skateland.
Okay, you did go to Skateland. Okay.
So then, after that, Morgan said we have to kill Bella. So, Morgan said, "Hey, we could go to the park and kill her in one of the bathroom stalls."
When was that said? Last night or this morning?
This morning.
Was Bella around at that time?
Yeah, Bella. We were playing dress up, and Bella was putting on a costume in the bathroom, a princess gown, a pink one. So Morgan said, "We have to kill Bella today," and I was like, "But can't we stay another night and do it tonight?" Because I was still kind of scared and kind of hopeful.
Scared and kind of hopeful. What do you mean by that?
Like, I was scared because, A, I would never see my family again, and B, I was kind of hopeful to prove that I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't seeing things, because even I saw Slender a few times.
Okay.
But I think that was probably my mind playing tricks on me.
When was this before the party that you saw Slender? You've seen him before?
Twice. Once, well, they were both on a bus. We ride the same bus to and from school. So we were, talking on the bus. I look out the window and I see this, supposed thing standing like this, with tendrils, looks exactly like a tree, there and gone like that. And I told Morgan, and so I actually thought that he was real, because I saw him.
And you call it tentacles?
Tendrils.
Tendrils. Okay, I think I understand creepypasta now.
Yeah.
So thank you for explaining me. That's very intricate, meaning there's a lot to it, right? As far as the party was planned for quite a while? Like you get what you
Yeah.
Okay. And when was it planned that you were going to kill Bella? Was it planned right away when you guys were planning the birthday party, or?
No, Morgan said around the end of December, beginning of January, again, hey, I know how we can become proxies, we have to kill Bella.
Okay.
So I said, and then after I was wondering when, so I asked her when, and she was like, oh, every year my mom said that for my birthday I can have 2 friends over, and it's definitely going to be a sleepover.
Definitely going to be a sleepover. So this was back in December and January. When did Morgan decide to have a birthday party?
No, her mother.
Her mother did. And did her mom pick the date?
I don't know about that.
Okay. And when did you know about the birthday party?
I knew about it around February.
Okay. And how soon after you knew about the birthday party in February did you know that there was a plan to kill Bella?
Well, before the actual confirmation that a birthday party was going to happen.
Okay. Hi. I'm going to grab some clothes and do that. Can we do that now? Sure, that's fine. Okay.
Weir has pretty extensive knowledge of Slenderman and creepypasta. It is clearly something she spends a lot of time researching. She is the one that shows the most interest. So it is odd that Geyser is the one to come up with the idea of killing Leutner.
What's happening here? Are you warm enough?
Yeah.
Are you sure? I can get you a blanket. Are your feet cold on the...
The other female detective said she was going to try to find me some socks.
Oh, okay. Okay, will that be good enough?
Yeah.
And certainly, you let me know if you get cold, okay? I don't want you to be cold. Okay. So I'm going to kind of repeat what I've learned from you so far, and you tell me if I'm correct, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So, you and Morgan are almost like sisters. You're so close.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you known her?
Since October.
Of this year?
Yeah.
Or this last year?
Yeah.
Okay. And you go to the same school? Both go to Horning?
And we ride the same bus.
Ride the same bus. Okay. So you met her in October. So, how long have you been watching or learning about creepypasta? How long have you been into that?
I'd say about, well, I watched the Skydive Minecraft video, like...
That's right. Okay, Minecraft, yeah.
3 years ago or something.
Okay.
It was a long time ago. And then, somewhere in, I believe it was November, I asked Kelly who that Jeff or Jack killer was.
Okay. This is past November, after you had met Morgan and such?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you've been, we're almost into June now, so maybe it's fair to say 6 or 7 months you've been kind of reading the creepypasta, not the creamy pasta, the creepypasta. Okay. So you're very close with Morgan. You've known her since October. You've been involved in reading the creepypasta since, like November or something. And in December or January, Morgan, who also is into creepypasta, did you introduce her to it, or did she already know about it?
She said that she's seen Slender also in, like, old pictures that she has.
Okay.
So I told her about them, and then she said, "Oh my God, I think I saw Slender when I was like 5, because she supposedly used to live in like a really heavily wooded area."
Okay.
Slender likes to stay in woods.
Wooded areas, okay. So in December and January, Morgan approaches you and says, she tells you that you should be proxies of Slender, or puppets. And you say, okay, well, how do we do that? And she says, well, we have to kill Bella, or Payton, right? And this will prove ourselves to Slender.
And prove ourselves worthy.
Prove yourselves worthy to Slender. And what would that do for you? Is that to get Slender to like you? Or to feel important?
Technically, if you're a proxy, you have to live in, supposedly you live in Slender Mansion and take orders directly from him.
So that'd be neat to you? You would enjoy that, or you think that'd be kind of cool? Or at the time?
At the time it was really cool, but I wanted to prove all skeptics wrong.
Okay. Okay. So when she said that we have to kill Bella to prove ourselves worthy to Slender, you were surprised but excited at the same time to prove that he existed, to prove all the skeptics wrong. And you feel as though in order to do this, you physically had to kill somebody?
Yes.
Okay.
Because that's what creepypastas are about.
Okay.
Even seemingly nice creepypastas, like Music Keeps Me Calm, are about killing.
And do you know what happens when you kill somebody? Like physically what happens to a person? Not legally, but like what would that do to you? Like, do you understand what it means to kill somebody? When you look at it from,
Weir gives a stunning answer in 3, 2, 1.
I believe it's ending a life. And I regret it.
Weir fully understands what death is, and she was willing to commit murder anyway.
And that's something you probably recognize today?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, I've seen stories on the news about shootings in, like, Milwaukee and all that, but I never fully understood what it meant to kill somebody until now.
Until you saw it happening?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that you could be able to physically do that now?
No.
And why is that?
It's just, I'm too nice of a person. I'm too nice and too squeamish.
Squeamish.
Like, I can stand blood if it's my own, but if I have to physically make someone else bleed for my personal gain, I won't do it. It just doesn't sit right with me.
Now, since this happened?
Yeah.
Okay, so she plans this in December or January. She approaches you on it. You say, okay, it's kind of exciting to prove the skeptics wrong. I get it. And in February, you find out she's going to have a birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
And did she say who she's all going to invite?
It was just her, Bella, and I.
Okay. And was there anything said about trying to become a proxy or being a proxy at that time?
We kind of talked about it discreetly on the bus every now and then.
And what did you talk about?
Like, ways to defend ourselves from, like, wild animals and all that, like badgers and, just random things we might need to know. There was...
Like if you live in the woods?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you ever talk about killing Bella in the bus at the birthday party?
Not very often. We did sometimes, but we made sure we whispered.
And when you whispered, why was that?
So that nobody else would hear. Granted, the bus is really loud, but people are eavesdroppers.
If somebody heard, what were you concerned if somebody heard?
that we would be in prison for the rest of our life for planning this.
Did you know it's wrong? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. And so, when does it ultimately come to the decision that it's going to happen at the birthday party?
That was made in February. Morgan said, I confirmed with my mom, I'm having a birthday party. It will happen when? Then.
The killing?
Yeah. We used code words like, for knife, we used cracker.
Okay.
And, what else? For the killing, we would use words like it, the deed, and like, for the place we were trying to go, Nicolette, we would use like camping trip and all that, up north, camping trip.
And by place, that wasn't where you were going to kill her. It was where you wanted to get to, because that's where the mansion is.
Yeah, it's supposedly right in the middle.
Okay. And where is Nicollet National Forest?
I believe, from what Google Earth told me, it's in Lalona, Wisconsin. Lalona.
Okay.
I believe I spelled that correctly.
Okay.
Hope I did.
And you found that by Google?
Yep.
Okay. And so she is confirmed February, she's going to have the birthday party. Morgan says that's when it's going to happen. And plans are made for, what are the plans that are made for the party? What are you guys going to do for the birthday party?
We go to sleep around 8.
All of these questions are designed to see if Weier is able to understand the concept of death and murder. She doesn't just admit to knowing that killing someone means ending their life. She also admits that they were careful not to be overheard in their planning because they knew it was wrong and that they would be in trouble with the law. So far, everything she's saying proves that she is sane enough to be charged with attempted murder.
We stay up and do regular things until 8, then we go to sleep.
You went to Scaland though? Like even like, so you guys went to school on Friday, right?
Yeah, I thought we were going to Scaland the next day.
Oh, okay.
Not like that day.
Okay.
So that was kind of off. So originally I thought it was, we go to bed around 8. Morgan sets an alarm on her Kindle to like 2 a.m. and puts big headphones on, and then the alarm wakes her up. She wakes me up, and then we kill Bella, put her under some covers, make it look like she was sleeping, and then we run.
And just leave her at Morgan's house.
Mm-hmm.
That was the original plan?
Yeah, until it changed. We were still planning on waking up really early, but Morgan was being really nice that day, and she let me sleep in like an extra 2 hours and 45 minutes.
On that day, meaning today? Or what day?
At the sleepover last night.
So she was being nice, what do you mean?
Sometimes she can be kind of mean, but that's only like when she's threatened.
Okay.
Like there's this one guy on our bus, Devin, who's very inappropriate. He says stuff like, I just went to a stripper club and raped a girl, and now I have a rape baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did the plan change from the original plan?
That day, which would be yesterday.
And why did it change?
Because I thought we were going to, from my perspective, I thought we were going to Skateland the next day.
Okay.
But we were, in reality, going to Skateland that night.
And so that messed up the timeline?
For me, it did.
Did you originally make that first plan? Is that why?
she made the first plan. I just kind of went along with it and tweaked some things.
Okay. So she makes the original plan. The original plan is to
Kill Bella while she's sleeping at like 2 in the morning.
and to go to bed around 8 p.m. And was she supposed to go to school? Like, guys all go to school and then go right over to Morgan's house, or?
From what I know, Morgan and I rode the bus to our house. We went to my house so I could pick up my things. I also picked up 2 pictures of my family.
Okay.
One of my mom and one of my siblings and me when we were really young.
Why did you do that?
Memories.
Okay.
And then we went around grabbing stuff like Kudos granola bars and water bottles. The water bottles I brought in.
Okay. So you were packing a bag to... So, okay. So the original plan was to go to school, go to her house, go to bed around 8, wake up at 2 a.m. She would wake up with the headphones on,
And then
kill Morgan. She would wake you up, kill Morgan, or kill Payton, and then put her under the covers, and then run, make her pretend like she was sleeping. But that changed because Skateland then went at night. So what happened was you guys went to school, and you guys rode the bus to Morgan's first, or to your house?
We rode the bus from school to the bus stop, and then we walked the rest of the way to my house.
Okay. And then that's when you picked up your stuff.
And the pictures.
Why did you want memories?
So that I wouldn't forget.
Why did you think you would forget? Because you were going to be walking to Nicolay? Because you were going to walk to Nicolay?
And we would probably be spending the rest of our lives there, and I didn't want to forget my family. Because you know how distant family members and friends fade away with time.
Once you pick up all your belongings, what happens next?
We go to...
Weir tries to convince the investigator that she was packing to go live in Slenderman's mansion, but that explanation is about as believable as going to live in Santa's workshop. Weir knew she would be likely on the run if they were successful in killing Leutner, and had planned an escape, at least as well as a 12-year-old could.
We walk to Morgan's house, and then we hang out till the phone rings, and it was Payton. She said that her mom had people coming over to work on her counter, and that Morgan and I and her father could come pick her up whenever. So.
Okay, so what happens next?
So we went to go pick her up,
And Morgan asks her dad, then I'm guessing, or what?
Morgan tells her dad.
Okay, tells her dad that you need to go pick up Bella? Okay. Okay, did you ride along with?
Yes.
Okay.
Morgan sat in the middle, I sat on the left, and Bella sat on the right.
What was in a truck?
It was a car.
Oh, so were you guys in the back seat? Okay. So you pick up Bella, and where do you go next?
We go back to Morgan's house, and then we go to, and then after an hour or so, we go to Skateland.
Do you remember about what time that was?
I'd say around 5:36-ish.
Okay. And then what happens next?
So then we were at Skateland having a good time.
Did you guys talk about the plan at all?
Nope.
Okay. How long did you guys stay there?
A good, We stayed there until around 9:32.
9:32?
That's what Morgan's dad said, what time was and all that.
Okay. So Morgan said came and picked you guys up at 9:32?
Well, he was already at Skateland.
Okay. Did he stay there the whole time?
He went outside a few times, but that was to go, like, in his car and smoke a cigarette or something.
Okay. So he's like, hey, it's 9:32, we gotta go.
No, he said we could leave whenever we wanted, and Bella and I said we didn't care. So Morgan said, how about we leave now? I kind of want to get some sleep.
Okay, so you guys leave?
And then we go back to Morgan's house, goof off for like another hour, and then go to sleep.
What do you do when you goof off?
We play computer games, Sims, and I had my iPad with me.
Okay.
So I was playing on that, and then Bella had her tablet also. We were all playing on our devices.
What is your PIN number for your iPad?
It's capital A L E X A N D R I G E.
Alexandrite.
It's a type of purple stone.
Oh, got it. Okay. And so everything else is in lowercase, and the A is the only one in capital? Okay. So you guys are all playing games for about an hour?
And then we go to sleep.
And then you go to bed. Where do you go to sleep?
Up in Morgan's room. Morgan has a bunk bed, but it's like there's two shelves on the side, a little cubby on this side, and then the bed is on top.
Okay.
And then her guinea pigs are underneath.
Okay.
Morgan has a lot of pets.
Yeah. Where did you guys sleep, on the floor then? Or
No, we all slept in the bed.
one bed?
Yeah, it was a twin.
All three of you slept in a twin bed? Was it the top or the bottom bunk? Or was there no bottom bunk?
There was no bottom bunk.
So you had all three of you girls were on the top bunk of this bed?
Payton slept right here, I slept here, and then Morgan had this space right here.
Oh.
Payton kicked me in the face, so I kicked her back.
Yeah, got it. Okay, and did anything happen after you went to bed?
I woke up around 1:30.
The night Weir describes is a perfectly normal birthday party sleepover, experienced by countless teenagers all over the world. There was no friction or fighting. It was probably the highlight of their month. The abrupt shift from party games to attempted murder had to make the experience even more terrifying for Leutner. She had absolutely no warning that her life was in danger from some of the people she trusted the most.
And then started moving around because, like, my melatonin wore off or something.
You take melatonin?
No, it's just
just your
naturally I
natural?
woke
Okay.
up. I have a habit of waking up really early.
Okay.
So does Morgan. So, I woke up and I started moving around and, like, looking at Morgan's gerbil and guinea pigs and all that. And I must have been making a lot of noise or something because they both woke up. And, well, Morgan was, like, listening to music or something. So before I started playing with the animals and all that, I kind of woke up Morgan and asked her if we should do it then. And she said no, it's too early.
Okay.
So I said okay, and then I started playing with the animals.
Okay.
And then I went back to sleep and woke up again around 5:45. And then we started playing with, like, this farting silly putty and all that.
Okay, all three of you were up then? All three of you were up then?
Yeah.
Okay. And did you stay up or did you fall back to sleep?
I stayed up.
Okay. And what did the other two girls do?
They were also playing with, like, silly putty. We were downstairs again. Morgan was playing Sims, and Bella and I were playing with our silly putty.
downstairs in the basement, or?
It made funny farting noises.
Okay. All right, and what happened next?
Around, like, we kept doing that until, like, 9:25. That's when we had breakfast.
Okay.
And then, like, 45 minutes later, we asked Morgan's mom if we could go down to the park, because we were gonna do it then.
Okay.
We didn't do it the night before, because Morgan let me sleep.
Okay.
So we were gonna do it then in the bathroom stall and, like, sit around the toilet, lock the door, crawl out, and walk.
So when you guys were playing with the silly putty in the basement and stuff, is that when you're also playing dress up and talked about doing it in the park?
We got dressed up, like, for 5 minutes.
Okay. But that's when that happened, though, to play dress up?
Mm-hmm.
And she went in, she was trying on a pink dress,
Mm-hmm.
and who brought it up? You or Morgan?
Last night, we were gonna...
About the park.
Oh, the park. While Bella was changing into the pink dress, we kind of talked about it for like 3 seconds.
Sure. Whispered.
We're going to do it today at the park. That's what Morgan said.
Was there something about her in the bathroom? Dying in the bathroom or something?
Yeah, there was a drain for blood to go down, and then we were going to sit her on the toilet, lock the door, and then leave for Nicolay. So that would look like that she wasn't dead, and cause,
Like in the bathroom stall?
Okay.
And then leave for Nicolay. Okay.
And then, like, I couldn't do it in there. Morgan kind of explained, like, Slender and Proxy and all that to Bella, while we were in the bathroom stall.
Oh, you guys, okay, so then you guys go out to the park then?
Mm-hmm. We all go to the park.
So Morgan asks Mom if you guys can go play in the park.
Mm-hmm.
And when did she take the knife?
She took it before we left.
Where did she get it from?
Her kitchen.
Was it in a drawer?
I don't know where she keeps her knives.
Okay, you didn't see her grab the knife?
No.
But how did you know that she grabbed one?
Because she showed it to me as we were walking to the park.
Okay. So Mom says, yeah, you guys can go play and in the park, and you guys leave, and as you're walking to the park, she shows you a knife.
Mm-hmm. She goes like that, I look at her, and then she lifts up her winter jacket, the white and plaid one.
Okay.
She lifts it up and shows me the handle of a knife, and the actual knife part is stuck. It was like right there.
Was it in like her waistband of her pants? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was there, so then I look at her like this.
Okay.
And then she just like, and then she nods to me, and then puts her jacket back down, and I kind of calmly walk towards the park. I was trying to stay calm, but I was like shaking a little bit, like I am now.
Okay. And why did you start shaking?
Because I was nervous.
Okay. What were you nervous about most?
Seeing a dead person, because the last time I saw a dead person, it was at a funeral, and it was my uncle.
So you guys go down to the park, and what do?
We, like, played around a little bit. Morgan kind of started freaking out a little bit, so I said, Bella, I need to talk to Morgan. She's freaking out a little bit.
What was she freaking out about?
Killing. She had never done that before. She's stabbed apples before.
Okay.
It was like...
Weir insists that Geyser kept instigating the murder and that she was more reluctant. But when she had the chance to allow Geyser to become worried and drop the idea, Weir calmed her down so they could continue. This fits more with a later assessment that theorizes that Weir was manipulating a mentally ill Geyser.
Okay.
Okay.
But she never actually cut a flesh wound into somebody.
How was she freaking out? What was she doing?
She said, I can't do this, I'm too scared, you have to.
Did Bella hear this?
No, Bella was outside. I told her to go outside and play.
And this was in the bathroom?
And then Morgan started freaking out, so I had to hug her and calm her down. And then we told Bella to go back inside, and, like, I was like, it's supposed to be, from what I read on the Creepypasta Wiki, it's easier to kill people when they're either asleep or unconscious, and it's also easier if you do not look them in the eye. So I asked Bella if she could, like, put herself to sleep. Is it okay if I have a blanket?
Blanket? Are you getting chilly? Okay. Yeah, let me get you one.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. I have an officer going to get a blanket for me. It's downstairs.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, no, thank you for telling me. Okay. Okay, so you're saying that it's easier to kill when they're asleep or unconscious or not looking at you.
Because, like, when you look into a person's eyes, you can see yourself, and you don't want to be killing yourself, supposedly, so you don't look in their eyes. And then when they're sleeping or unconscious, they can't scream, and they go around to make it harder for you.
Okay. So you asked Bella if she can put herself to sleep?
Mm-hmm.
When in the bathroom there? Is that what you
Yeah, she was sitting like this up against a wall. And I was sitting next to her, and I asked her if she could put herself to sleep. And then she said, no, I'm not tired, I can't do that. And then, so then Morgan called me over to where she was standing, which was by the sink.
Okay.
So then she said, can you try to knock her out? Because when I stand up for her every now and then, because Morgan's like prime target for bullies at school, especially with Devin.
Okay.
So, like, one time Devin got too close to Morgan, and I kind of didn't like it, so I punched him kind of hard.
Yeah.
He kind of started crying, because he was like, he is constantly talking about rape.
Yeah.
SEX.
Yeah.
And Grand Theft Auto. So he's very inappropriate.
Okay. So Morgan asks you if you can knock her out.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you say?
And I said I can try. Because, like I said, I was, like, she was wide awake right next to me.
Right.
So I kind of went like that to her forehead and banged her head up against the concrete.
Okay.
And then she was just like, excuse you, and pushed my hand away. So I said, sorry, I got bored and I needed something to do. Plus, my hands got really finicky. I lied.
So do you think that hurt her, or did it seem like it hurt her?
It didn't seem like it.
So you hit her slightly in the forehead and her head hit the wall and she excuse me. And you were doing this to knock her out so you guys could kill her in there?
Yeah.
Basically, and you asked her to fall asleep so you could kill her in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't like screaming. That's one thing I can't handle.
Okay. happened next?
So then after that, I say, hey guys, why don't we go take a walk around the block? That's when I pointed out to Morgan the bushes, the trees and bushes and all that, and say, you can take her in there and do the deed. And then after we go into the woods, we say we're going to play a hide and seek. And Morgan is going to be the seeker. So we hide. I tell Bella to lay down face first in the dirt.
The phrase, do the deed, keeps popping up. This isn't used all that often in real life. It is mostly used in cheap fictional settings, which seems to be mainly what Weir consumes online. It is a small thing, but it shows that she is influenced by what she reads and watches.
Like,
So you
under her
suggested,
stomach.
okay, so you suggested to take a walk around the block, and you pointed out the woods to Morgan and said,
we could do the deed there.
okay,
And then,
okay,
and then, she says, I'm not laying on my stomach in dirt. It's all squishy and there are twigs and sharp rocks everywhere.
so you're going to play hide and seek, right?
Mm-hmm.
Play hide and seek, and then she was supposed to be the seeker, so to
Morgan-
keep her eyes from being to see where you guys ran, you wanted her to lay down in the dirt?
No, Morgan was the seeker
Oh.
and Bella and I were hiding.
Okay, so you told her a place to hide.
Mm-hmm.
And why did you want her to lay down in the dirt?
So that I could sit on her chest and well, so that I could pin her down and get it done and over with, and then we could leave.
You're gonna pin her down?
Mm-hmm. Morgan told me to pin her down.
Okay. And
So, like, she said no, so I kind of pushed her forward and sat on her hip, and then she said, ow, I can't breathe, ow, ow, ow. So then I got off, because she was making a lot of noise.
was she kneeling already or something? Or
Yeah, she was kneeling, and then I pushed her, she was kneeling like this,
okay, hiding.
playing with flowers and all that.
Okay.
I was standing right here. I pushed her over,
Okay.
so like, she's like this now,
Okay.
and then I sit right here on her hip while she's like that.
Okay.
And then she started complaining that she couldn't breathe, so I got off of her because she was making a lot of noise.
Okay. Okay. And what happened next?
And I told Morgan that she's not laying down, and then she said, tackle her and I'll stab her. And then...
Now, there was a time when Morgan gave you the knife.
and said that she couldn't do it.
When was that?
It was
During
like
all this?
before.
Heidi?
It was like after I tackled Bella and sat on her hip.
Okay. So then, so you tell Morgan she's not laying down, is that when it happened?
And then she says, okay, tackle. Okay, tackle her. And then I tackle her,
Yeah.
I get up, and then Morgan hands me the knife and says, I can't do it, you know where all the soft spots are. And, like, I only know where soft spots are because I used to watch Doomsday Preppers, and it said that a hard blow to, like, the stomach or the throat with, like, a sucker in between your fingers can do some serious damage.
A sucker meaning like a knife or something?
No, a sucker being an actual lollipop.
Oh!
Can you talk for a second when you get a minute?
Sure, just give me 1 minute. I think they're getting a blanket for her too, if that's okay. Okay, so you learned that on Preppers.
Doomsday Preppers. Sucker being an actual dum-dum sucker.
Okay.
Not like code words or anything.
So Morgan gives you the knife,
And then I tell her she has to do it and to go ballistic, and then she asks when, and I said whenever you want, and she said I'm doing it when you want me to.
so hold on, so she gives you the knife and says you do it,
And then I give it back to her and say, you do it, go ballistic. And she said, okay, I'll go ballistic when you say you want me to. I told her that I didn't care when she did it. And she said, whatever. So I started walking away. And then
Weier was very careful not to use the knife herself. Instead, she chose to be the one to goad Geyser to act. Whether this was from an inability to act out violently herself, or if it was to make herself seem less guilty, is unclear.
like when I was 5 feet away, I said now, and Morgan said, don't be afraid, I'm only a little kitty cat, and jumped on top of Bella and stabbed her repeatedly.
Okay.
Like, she told me that she got her in the lung, right here 6 times, and then like in the leg a few times.
Okay.
And then she was like, she walked away covered in blood, and then Payton started screaming, I trusted you, I hate you all. And then I told her to lay down and be quiet because I didn't want attention being drawn. So I said, lay down and be quiet, you'll lose blood slower. So then she laid down. Morgan tried to clean her wounds with a leaf.
Did she try to get up?
Yeah, she tried to get up. She said that she couldn't see, she couldn't walk, and that she couldn't breathe.
Payton was saying this?
Yes.
So after Morgan stabbed Payton, did Morgan just get off of her and start walking away, or?
Morgan got off of her when I turned around, and Payton was wobbling around, holding on to trees, saying, I hate you, get help.
Okay.
And that's when I told her to lay down and be quiet, you'll lose blood fat slower.
Okay. But really you just wanted her not to draw attention?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So then,
when Payton was being stabbed, was she laying on the ground, or?
Morgan pushed her to the ground face first, and went ballistic.
Went ballistic. Okay.
And then,
So Payton somehow gets herself to stand up.
but she's wobbling, and then she collapses near a ditch, and then she says, I can't see, and she starts kind of crying and whimpering a little bit. Then, and then Morgan tries to clean a big wound on her leg with part of a leaf, but it didn't help that much.
Why was she trying to do that?
Because before this, Payton was Morgan's best friend. Morgan was Payton's only friend. So it was hard for her to do that.
Okay.
I feel really bad.
Okay. So what happened after she was standing there and kind of wobbling, and she collapsed down?
She said that she couldn't breathe, and then that she couldn't see, and then she started crying with no tears, but you could hear her cry. And then
what were you guys doing? Watching her?
we were like slowly backing away because we took the opportunity to run.
Okay.
Like, she couldn't see us, so we took the opportunity to run.
Did you tell her you were going to go get help?
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to actually get her help?
No.
Okay.
I kind of wanted to, but I knew Morgan wouldn't want me to.
Okay.
Because, like, we've planned this for a while. Like, 6 months. Can I have a Kleenex?
Yeah. Let me get you and that blanket. I'm sorry, hon. I don't know where it's taking up so long.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's what is going to happen. I'm going to just kind of write down, you've been talking to me for a long time, and I really appreciate your honesty. That goes a long way with me, and I told you right from the beginning that, I'm looking for honesty, and this is good. One thing I want to clarify is with the knife,
Was a knife ever taken from the house and put in a purse when you guys walked down to the park?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Did you ever grab that knife from the house?
I didn't touch it until Morgan handed it to me.
Okay. Okay.
Then I touched the handle. I think I might have touched part of the blade, but only the dull end.
Okay. And you guys, we're going to play hide and seek.
As she goes into detail about the stabbing, Weir shows very little emotion, a few tears and sniffles, but it is far from the reaction someone would have if one of their best friends almost died. She is almost eager to answer questions, as if she is eager for the attention and validation from cooperating.
That was the idea, right?
Cover up.
To cover up, okay. So, okay. So I'm going to start this out. I'm going to kind of write it, but I'll read it back to you. I print, so you should be able to read it pretty. Do you write in cursive or no?
It kind of depends on if I'm like writing really fast, then I write in like sloppy cursive with regular print mixture.
Okay. And how did you meet Bella?
Morgan introduced me to her at school one day.
Okay.
4 months ago, I think.
Do you usually meet up with Morgan every day after school?
Only if our parents allow it, but we usually have to be home by like 7.
Okay. So yesterday, though, after school, you met up with Morgan and you guys got on the bus and took it to the bus stop, right?
No, we got on the bus at school, and then at our stop, we got off, and then we went to my house, picked up my things, and walked over to hers. Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Where is Bella's body now?
Bella's at the hospital.
Okay. I thought it was still out there in a crime scene.
Did you think that she died?
Yeah.
She is alive.
Okay.
How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel kind of happy and kind of worried that, like, I'm just scared all around.
What are you worried about?
I know she'll never trust me again and that she hates my guts.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty serious what happened. She was very, very close to dying today.
Okay.
Very close. But the doctors were able to save her.
Okay.
How does that make you feel?
Good.
Makes you feel good that she's alive?
Mm-hmm. Will I be able to go back to school?
What day is it today? Saturday?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you're going to be able to go back to school on Monday. But at some point in time, you'll be able to go back to school.
Okay.
Okay.
How many stab wounds did they find?
19.
Okay. Morgan counted 17.
Was she counting out loud as she was doing it?
No, she was counting in her head, I think.
When did she tell you that?
I asked her where she stabbed Bella, and she said that she got...
Weir asks about Leutner. Her tone is almost casual, trying not to draw attention to her interest. It would be in the realm of normal to ask if her friend was all right, but asking about the number of stab wounds is troubling. The need to know that level of detail is a bit too clinical and detached.
her in the chest 6 times, in the lung twice, and then everywhere else. Like, I know there was one on her leg, and I saw her like bleeding like crazy.
So in December or January, Morgan told you that you should be proxies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that creepypasta is an internet game? Would you say
It's like, it's a bunch of online horror stories on one website.
okay? That's a great way to describe it. And it's Slender is actually Slenderman, right?
Mm-hmm. And I think the website for the creepypasta Wikia is like, excuse me, sorry.
Yes.
It's Wikia, or wiki.creepypasta.com. Does Morgan know that Bella's alive?
I don't know. I don't know if Detective Casey told her. So Morgan decided that it was going to be done on her birthday.
Her birthday was earlier. This was like a belated birthday party.
Okay. Okay, so you're at your house, you're loading up your backpack with clothes. And then food and water, right?
Water bottles and granola bars.
And pictures of your family, right?
Mm-hmm. Picture of my mom and then a picture of my siblings and me.
And you needed this for the trip to Nicolay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you head on over to Morgan's.
Mm-hmm.
Payton calls.
says, come pick us up.
Based on Weir's questions and casual attitude, she thinks she is going to be released and everything will go back to normal. She fails to grasp the severity of the situation and that there are going to be long-term repercussions. She will still need a full psychological evaluation, and they will have to determine whether or not to try her as an adult if she is deemed mentally fit. If not, she will probably be placed in an institution for the foreseeable future while she undergoes therapy.
It honestly makes me feel a lot better knowing that she's alive.
Good. Does it worry you won't see Slender? Or do you think he does not exist?
He does not exist. He is a work of fiction. And I believe that people who say that they've seen him in person have read creepypastas and then recall memories of strange trees and said it was Slender. Because I know that was one of the cases on the bus. I looked back at the tree and it was strange.
Yeah. Excuse me, you passed your sneeze on me.
Sorry.
Excuse me. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
Okay. You ever heard that? You yawn and you pass your yawn on to somebody else.
Is it bad that I didn't have an allergy pill all day and was outside a lot?
How are you feeling?
Good.
Do you just get kind of itchy and sneezy, or what happens?
I'm obviously crying, but my nose runs a lot, but I'm fine. I don't think I have the same allergies as my mother.
Okay, so that's bad one.
Yeah. Really seasonal, regular allergies.
Your Schmidt, your paperwork in dispatch. Your Schmidt, your paperwork in dispatch.
I'm guessing Bella's in surgery right now.
She is out now. She's all done.
That's good.
So you woke up around 1:30 and looked at Morgan and said now, and she said no. Okay.
I had to wake her up because she was sleeping.
And she said no, why?
Because it was too early. Plus, Bella was like half awake, half asleep. Because I kind of made a loud noise, and at this point we were all staying in the same bed. And it took a lot to wake Morgan up.
So you got up in the morning, played around with some Play-Doh, played dress up. Payton went into that room trying on a dress.
And that's when you discussed with Morgan, right? And that was when you planned to do it in the park, in the park bathroom? Okay. And that's when did you ask Morgan if you should do it in the park? Okay.
The investigator goes back over the timeline, making sure she has all of the details clarified and that there aren't any inconsistencies with Weir's story. It needs to be as exact as possible because it is going to be compared with Geyser's statement to help determine who is telling the truth, or if neither of them are.
That's kind of especially is called ATS.
And what did she say?
Morgan, after what?
So was she game for that? Was she, when you're like, hey, we should do it in the park bathroom? She was like, okay
with that.
So then you guys went and ate breakfast, right? And then she asked her mom if you guys could go out and play?
After like 30 minutes of more Play-Doh playing and fake farts.
So at some point, Morgan gets a knife. You don't know when, you didn't see it.
No.
And what does the knife look like?
It's a thin kitchen knife, like someone would use for cutting carrots for soup or something.
Or like maybe a steak knife, was that also?
Yeah, it looked like a steak knife, but it had a black handle with a gray stripe down the side. Are my clothes being cut apart?
No.
Okay.
They're being dried to ensure that blood is dry on it.
Okay.
Okay, because it can also be a biohazard, right?
Okay.
So as you walked to the park, was Payton in front of you or behind you?
She was in front.
So that's when Morgan lifts up her, what side did she lift up?
Her left side.
And was she wearing a sweatshirt or a jacket?
She had a hoodie, and then a t-shirt, and then a winter jacket, the white one.
The white jacket?
I just realized something. If I don't go to school on Monday, that'll be the first day I miss a day of school.
You're kidding, you've never missed a day of school?
Never. Last time I remember missing a day of school was because of my great-grandfather's funeral.
Wow.
And that was...
Weir still thinks that there's a possibility that she will return to school, and her main concern is her attendance record. Aside from a morbid curiosity about Leutner, all of her attention is focused on herself. She might believe that things will work out since Leutner didn't die, but this can't be passed off as a spur-of-the-moment accident.
in 3rd grade.
So when she showed you the knife, you kind of just, like, okay, kind of gave her a
I
little
was like, I stared at her like this.
Mm-hmm. Like, what were you thinking?
I was thinking, dear God, this is really happening.
You guys played in the park for a little bit and then went in the bathroom, or did you go right to the bathroom?
We went to the bathroom, and then Morgan said we should explain to Bella what's going on, and then...
You did?
And then Morgan handed me the knife, and then she went behind Bella, and, like, they were crouched down. Morgan was holding her back, and Bella was very confused.
So Morgan had the knife out in the bathroom?
Morgan handed me the knife. She told me to keep it concealed.
Okay.
So I was still holding it, but I hid it behind my leg so that Bella couldn't see it.
Because you were going to do the stabbing originally?
Originally I was, because I supposedly knew all the weak spots of the person. Do you know where my parents are?
I don't know if they are at home or where they are,
Okay.
but they know you are here.
Okay.
Okay. So Morgan hands you the knife.
And tells me to keep it concealed.
Where is Bella at that time?
We went in one of the bigger stalls.
Mm-hmm.
So Bella, like, say the door is here. Bella was standing in the corner like this. And then Morgan pulls her forward, and then Morgan crouches behind her, and Bella crouches in front of her. And then Morgan held Bella's arms back.
Like, what was she trying to do?
She was, like, trying to restrain her from moving.
And what did Bella think of that?
Her facial expression was confused, but she didn't say anything.
And what happened then?
And I said, Morgan, I need to talk to you, and that's when I said I couldn't do it. And then later in the woods, she told me that she handed me the knife and told me to stab her, and I said, I can't do it. I'm too squeamish. Am I ever going to get my clothes back?
I don't know if you're going to get those clothes back. I don't know if you want those clothes back. Do you want those clothes back? I mean, you can have them. You probably could have them back at some point in time.
Yeah, they probably...
With the blood on it and stuff. I don't know, but...
They probably scared the crud out of me. I don't even remember where I got that blue shirt.
No?
Nope. Just found it in my closet and said, hey, I could wear this. I mean...
The lack of awareness exhibited by Weier can't be explained by her age. An average 12-year-old wouldn't understand that someone nearly dying is more important than what is going to happen to a blood-stained outfit. This is a trait they will have to examine more deeply during a psychological evaluation.
Blackish.
Why the winter boots?
Because I knew we might be walking through, like, marshy, squishy, gross areas. And I didn't want to wear canvas shoes that leaked, so I wore my winter boots that at least had a plastic outside.
So you told Morgan you couldn't do it, and Payton was really confused. So you gave Morgan the knife back?
Mm-hmm.
Did Payton see any of that?
No, we went into the other stall and then talked.
What happened next?
And then I was restraining Payton, and then Morgan was gonna stab her, but then I forgot what happened, but we couldn't do it. Oh wait, Morgan had like a kind of nervous breakdown, and that's when I sent Bella outside to go goof off. And then I had to start petting Morgan like she was a cat to calm her down.
And then what happened once she calmed her?
Then we went out to play for like 10 minutes, and then I suggested that we go for a long walk.
Okay, what happened next?
So then, after the long walk, I pointed out the woods to Morgan and said we should do it there, quietly. And then Morgan agreed with that, so I told Bella we were going to play hide and seek. That was a cover-up. I mean, she was going to hide one place, I was going to hide another, and then Morgan and I were going to be like lionesses chasing down a zebra. I was going to tackle her, and then Morgan was going to do the stabbing.
All right. So you start playing hide and seek.
Mm-hmm.
Morgan is it, right?
Yes, she's counting. Then I tell Bella to hide somewhere close to rocks. I remember there was like one really big rock and then 4 medium rocks covered in moss.
Why?
I saw the rocks and I thought it'd be a flat place and it wouldn't cause any other unintended injuries. Plus, I just saw the rocks and went there because it was flat and there was a lot of plants nearby.
So you told Payton to hide near some rocks, and is that when you told her to lay down? Or?
I said, get down so Morgan doesn't see you, and Payton says, you know I'm not laying down in this. And then she just sat, and we were like 5 feet away from Morgan.
And your intention was to sit on her so she wouldn't be able to get up, right?
When Morgan and I were walking towards Steinhoffel's, she said, honestly, Annisa, I thought you would chicken out by now. Because I'm just supposedly I'm too nice.
So Payton wouldn't lay down, right?
Right.
So you tried to tackle her? Or did you just try to push her?
I told Morgan that she wasn't laying down, and she said hold, and then Morgan said tackle her.
Well, first you pushed her, right, and sat on her hip, and she's like, I can't breathe. That happened first, right?
Then I told her that she's not laying down, and then Morgan said pin her down.
Weir has repeatedly described herself as squeamish, but that is hardly the case. She has planned this out, even considering the bathroom drains for the blood. She has made sure that Geyser has remained in the correct mental state to go through with the stabbing, and she held the victim down. She even lied to Leutner about getting help and how to lie still so she didn't lose blood, while Weir and Geyser escaped. These actions aren't squeamish, they're cold-blooded.
And I said, I can't do that. And Morgan said, fine, you do the stabbing. And she pushed the knife towards me. And then I said, I can't do that either. I'm too squeamish. When I started walking away, Morgan said that she wouldn't do the deed until I said she could, so I kind of started to walk away, and then I said, now, and Morgan said, don't be afraid, I'm only a little kitty cat, and then lunged for Payton, the ballistic.
So you got up and told Morgan she wouldn't lay down.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm sorry, what did she
And
say?
then Morgan said, tackle her or hit her down or something like that. And then I told her I couldn't do that. Then she handed me the knife, and I said I can't do that either. I'm too squeamish. And then I walked away and said she was stab crazy.
Did you think Payton saw you guys talking about that? Like, she's giving you the knife, you're like, I can't, you do it, I'm too squeamish?
She was busy playing with flowers
Okay.
and plants and twigs.
All right, and so, I can't, I'm too squeamish, you gave the knife back,
Mm-hmm.
Morgan says,
Morgan said, I'm not doing it until you tell me to. So I said, fine. Started walking away, and then I said, now. And Morgan said, don't be afraid. I'm only a little kitty cat. And then started stabbing Payton. Was I going too fast?
nope, you're okay.
Okay.
You said I'm not going to until you tell me to, that's what she says.
Mm-hmm.
And you had said something before about saying go ballistic?
Yeah.
What was that? So,
Like, I meant go ballistic, go crazy, make sure she's down.
and that's when you start walking away?
Mm-hmm. And then after I got like 5-10 feet away, I said now. And then William said, don't be afraid, I'm only a little kitty cat.
Go ballistic, go crazy?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think she meant by that? Don't worry, I'm just a little kitty cat?
She said that she was going to draw cat whiskers on her face if she became a proxy, and that would be her catchphrase, like with Jeff the Killer, it's go to sleep. Or,
So she was going to draw whiskers on her own face?
or put a cat nose on her face and say, don't worry, I'm only a little kitty cat.
So she went up to Bella,
Mm-hmm.
tackled her.
Mm-hmm.
Did Bella go down to the ground?
Mm-hmm. She went down to the ground and started screaming, I can't breathe, ow, get off me.
Okay, hold on right there.
And then after,
Wait a second.
sorry.
It's okay.
Although Geyser was the one to use the knife, it is doubtful any of this would have been possible without Weier. Geyser will take the brunt of the blame and be considered the most dangerous of the two. Those who know better will understand that Weir's ability to plan and manipulate make her equally, if not more, dangerous.
Okay. Oh, I can't breathe. Get off me.
Mm-hmm.
What happened next?
And then after Morgan was done stabbing...
Well, that's when then Morgan started stabbing her.
Mm-hmm. And then after that, Morgan got off, looked really scared and said, hi, hi. And she started like stuttering and freaking out. And then Payton started screaming, I hate you, I trusted you. And then she tried walking, but she kind of fell.
Was Morgan standing, like, straddling her as she was stabbing?
She was, like, Bella was face down, and Morgan was, like, this, stabbing her.
Over the, okay. So Payton was screaming then?
And then, afterwards, to try to keep her quiet, I said, sit down, stop, lay down, stop screaming, you'll lose blood slower. And she started complaining that she couldn't breathe and that she couldn't see.
So she started screaming, I hate you, I trusted you.
Mm-hmm.
She got up?
Yeah, she got up and tried to walk towards the street.
What street?
It was like a back alleyway. It was closed off.
Was it like a dead end?
Yeah, it led to the other side of the Big Bend road.
So she tried to walk toward a street, and what happened?
And then she collapsed and said that she couldn't see and that she couldn't breathe. And also that she couldn't walk. So then Morgan and I kind of directed her away from the road and said that home was this way, even though we were going deeper into the forestish area. And then
So she said she fell down and said she couldn't breathe or see.
or walk.
Or walk. And you had told her
To lay down and be quiet to lose blood slower. And that we're going to get help.
but you really weren't going to get her help, right?
No. And then also in the bag that was with us when the deputies found us, in one of the pouches there was like another singular glove that had blood and mud on it. Did you find it? It was in one of the side pockets.
Okay. And what's the significance of that glove?
It had Bella's blood on it.
Who was wearing that glove?
Me.
Okay. And how did her blood get on you?
I kind of moved her away from the road, and her blood got on me and then on my shirt too.
So once she was standing up?
She kind of pushed me aside too, and I think her palm was full of blood, so she split through my shirt and all that.
So when she was standing trying to get to the street, you kind of like redirected her away from the street because you didn't want anyone to see? Did you grab her? Like grab her arm?
And then there was a bunch of blood on my hand, on the hands too, but it got washed off in a nearby stream. Morgan and I shortly ran after that until like this marshy area, and then we started walking along, like a highway or something. It divides the one big bend and then the other.
Okay.
And then we dove into more reeds and all that. And then Morgan heard police sirens, so we dove into, like I said, reeds. And then my gloves got wet.
By Weir's own admission, she did everything in her power to make sure that Leutner would die before she received help. Her method isn't as violent as using the knife, but her intent is just as clear.
And were you hoping that she was going to die? When you guys ran off, were you hoping she was going to die so you could see Slender? Was that the whole...
Part of me kind of wanted this to fail, just because I hear about manslaughter and all that on TV, and it doesn't bother me much, but when I see it, it traumatizes me. But the other part of me wanted her to die, but part of me wanted to, the bad part of me wanted her to die, but the good part of me wanted her to live.
So you left her and you walked to Walmart, washed up in the bathroom. Then walked to downtown Waukesha.
We stayed on one road and walked the whole way until we saw the Veterans Memorial, and then we turned left.
Okay.
And then we walked across the street, and then we walked up the hill. At the top of the hill, I asked for some water because it was really hot. And then Morgan and I were using the same water bottle because we wanted to save water. We figured if we used the same water bottle, we would save water rather than us using different water bottles. So we could go down faster. So, and then we sat on top of the hill for like 5 minutes, catching our breath. And then Morgan said we should keep walking before the police catch us. And then we headed down the hill, and we kept walking straight.
And there are times that you got upset, and so did Morgan, right? You continued to walk until you reached Steinhoffel's, right?
And then, I think we kept walking in the same direction until I saw a familiar part of, like, edge of Waukesha and Pewaukee, that little area close to the Fox River where you can rent boats. I recognized that area because my grandparents live out in Pewaukee, and we go there, and that's the road we take. So, I recognized the road. I said, I know where we are. There are 2 ways we can go. We can go up another hill and go right, or we can go straight. And Morgan said straight. So we crossed the road. And then kept walking. We heard people, so we dove into bushes, plus it was really hot. So we kept walking through the bushes, and then finally we stopped, sat down, and drank some more water. And then we kept walking straight through the bushes, and then after 150 yards of walking through grass and bushes and all that, I said, I need to sit down and drink some water. So we did. We sat down, and then I started having a nervous breakdown. I was looking at a picture of my mom, and then I started crying. I did like a total jerky thing. Can you say that's Morgan?
You were blaming everything on Morgan? Do you think Morgan's completely...
Weier mentions she has learned a lot about manslaughter from television shows. Her worry is focused more on what will happen to her rather than the fact that Leutner might be dead. She is at least honest enough to admit that part of her wanted Leutner to die, and it is interesting to note that she separates herself into good and bad parts.
to blame for it?
No, I don't think any of this would have happened if I had just told her about creepypastas.
Yeah. I'm going to read what I wrote down, and it doesn't have every single detail that you so greatly described to me in it, but it's just kind of a brief overview, okay? So you let me know if I wrote something wrong, okay? Let me stop you. So on May 30th, 2014, so that was yesterday, today's the 31st,
Okay.
After school, I met up with Morgan, got on the bus, and took it to the bus stop. We walked to my house. I got my clothes packed to stay overnight at Morgan's. Morgan was having a birthday party and invited Payton and I. In December or January, Morgan told me we should be proxies. This is from Creepypasta, an internet horror story.
That's right in front counter, yes.
Proxies are like puppets to the head guy called Slenderman. In order to prove ourselves to him that we are worthy, we need to kill someone. Right? Okay. When Morgan said we should be proxies, she said we need to kill Payton. We started planning. Morgan decided it was going to happen at her birthday party. I packed my clothes, food, water bottles, and pictures of my family. I needed this for the trip to see Slender in the Nicolet National Forest. We go to Morgan's. Payton calls and tells us Morgan's dad can pick her up as her mom can't until later. Can't drop her off. Yeah, I'll put that in there. Drop her off. When we all get to Morgan's, we then go to Skateland. We had a good time, and Morgan wanted to go home, and this was about 9:30. We got home, played a little on our computers, then went to bed, all in Morgan's bed. I woke up around 1:30, looked at Morgan. She was sleeping. I woke her up, asked her if we should kill her now. She said no, it was too early. We went back to sleep. We got up in the morning, played dress up. Payton went into a room to change into a pink princess dress. I asked Morgan if we should do it in the park, in the bathroom. She was okay with that. We ate breakfast. Morgan asked her mom if we could play in the park. Her mom said yes. At some point, Morgan gets a knife, like a thin steak knife. As we walked to the park, Payton was in front of us. Morgan lifted the left side of her white jacket and showed me the knife, which was in her waistband. It was a black handle with a gray stripe. I thought, dear God, this was really happening. We went to the bathroom. Originally, I was going to do the stabbing because I knew all the weak spots. Morgan hands me the knife. I conceal it. Morgan went behind Payton. They both bent down. Morgan grabbed her arms to restrain her. I asked to talk to Morgan. I told her I couldn't do it. Payton was really confused. I gave Morgan the knife back. This was all in a different stall. So Payton didn't see.
Then I tried restraining Payton, and Morgan had a nervous breakdown. I calmed Morgan down. I suggested we go for a walk. After a while, I pointed out the woods and said we should do it there. Morgan said yes, so we suggested to play hide and seek. Morgan is the seeker. I told Payton to hide near some rocks. I thought it would be a flat place. I told her to lay down so Morgan wouldn't see her. I wanted her to lay down so I could sit on her so Morgan could stab her. Payton wouldn't lay down, so I pushed her and sat on her. She said she couldn't breathe, so I got up and told Morgan she wouldn't get down. Morgan said, tackle her. I said I couldn't.
Beyond pressing her lips together, Weier shows no emotion as her actions are read back to her. There is no shame, remorse, or horror. Instead, Weier listens as if she is being told a story about someone else.
Morgan gave me the knife. I told her I couldn't, I was too squeamish. Payton was playing with flowers at this time. I gave the knife back to Morgan. I gave the knife back. Morgan took it and said, I'm not going to until you tell me to. I started walking away and said, go ballistic, go crazy. I said, now. Morgan said, don't worry, I'm just a little kitty cat. She went to Payton, tackled her. She went to the ground and started screaming, ow, I can't breathe, get off me. Morgan started stabbing Payton. Payton was screaming. Morgan got off her. Payton said, I hate you, I trusted you. She got up and tried to walk toward a street. She fell down. She said she couldn't breathe or see or walk. I told her to lay down, be quiet, you will lose blood slower. I told her we were going to get help. We really weren't though. When she was standing, trying to get to the street, I grabbed her arm to move her away from the street so no one will see her. We were hoping she would die, so I could prove people wrong that Slender does exist. We left her. We walked to Walmart, washed up in the bathroom, then walked to downtown Waukesha, saw Veterans Memorial. We continued to walk until we reached the interstate. We stopped a couple of times. At times I got upset, so did Morgan. We continued to walk until we saw Steinhoffel's. We went in and used the bathroom and got water. They had cookies and lemonade too. We left and made our way to the entrance to the interstate. We went to the bank. We went down to the bank. Like that. We went down the bank to cool off, and the deputies found us. Now, does that sound about right? Is there anything you want added or changed?
I also picked up 2 packages of fruit snacks at Steinhoffel's.
At Steinhoffel's? Okay.
And then when you started explaining what proxies and all that were,
Yes.
could you add that Slenderman and Zalgo have proxies?
Zalgo?
Yes.
How do you spell Zalgo?
Z-A-L-G-O.
Zalgo also has a proxy? Has proxies? Is Zalgo like Slenderman?
He's supposed to be this demon with 7 mouths.
Oh, that's the demon. Okay.
And he actually has a few comic strips about him too. You can go on Google Images and search Zalgo Garfield comic strips, and it'll show 3 Garfield scenes.
Oh.
It'll be what's the human's name?
The owner to Garfield?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
It was him sitting
Okay.
there reading the newspaper, and there was a cookie jar next to him.
Okay.
And then Zalgo has this saying that he chants, and in like English when the world's about to end. It's like, and then he has, I forgot what the saying was. You can probably find it on the Creepypasta Wiki.
Okay.
You search Zalgo.
Okay.
And so the cookie jar lid was opening up, and there was like these there'd be these black tentacles and an eyeball, like a red eyeball coming out. And then the owner is like, what the heck? And then the creature inside the cookie jar says, he comes, and then that's like another one of Zago's spiel things.
Okay.
He says, he comes.
He comes, that's
And then
his
in the next one, it was Garfield and the owner, and then the
Weir launches into a description of a completely unrelated creepypasta, showing her level of obsession. This isn't the time or the place, and her attention should be easily focused on Leutner and what will be happening in the near future.
jar, and then in unison they all said Zalgo.
Really?
Except the characters was really weird. Like Garfield has no eyes. Like his face was like manipulated to look like a crab claw almost.
Ah, weird.
And then
You can't do that to Garfield.
oh, John, it was John Arnold.
John, that's it. Good call. Wow, good memory.
Thank you. So then John, his eyes were completely black with a few white dots,
Mhm.
and they were like oozing the same stuff that comes out of Eyeless Jack's mask.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
And like the whole background was red and black and weird.
So what I just read to you was the statement that, that is written here. Can you scoot your chair up here?
Sure.
So in the very beginning, these were your rights that I had read to you, where it says sign. Can you sign it for me, please?
Sure. I have your signature.
No? Oh, kind of like a doctor. This is the first page where we talk about the proxies and everything. Could you go ahead? I'm going to have you sign each page, page by page.
I have the same signature as my father.
Do you really? Up here I put, as her mom couldn't drop her off until, could you just initial there so it doesn't look like I put that in after we're done here? That's what the purpose was. Okay. Now here I'm going to have you just initial where I kind of goofed up some of my spelling. Just trying to spell the word gray. If you could sign. Okay.
Yeah, I do kind of like.
Yeah. A little bit different each time. Mine's different each time I find. So here you can see I scratched out 2 words. Again, would you be able to initial by it so it doesn't look like I changed your statement after? Yep. And then go ahead and sign it. Yeah. And I think this is the last page here. Yes, and a couple more goofs here. You can initial.
W.
And then 2 over here. And then 1 right here. And then if you could initial right at after the period there to show that that's where it ends. And then sign here. Thank you. So this helps us get your side of the story on what happened here, obviously, today. And it is a blessing that Payton is alive. It was scary for her. Where she was stabbed was near the heart. They did have to go in, incision, and open up her chest and sew part of her heart to repair it.
Okay.
And then after that, they had to open up her stomach because her pancreas was cut. A part of her liver was cut and some of her stomach.
Yeah, Morgan said she got her in the stomach.
So those were very serious injuries, and she was very near to death. So what you guys were trying to accomplish today was very close to happening. Okay, but the doctors were able to fix her. And
what about the big gash on her leg right there?
I'm sure they were going to be able to sew that up. There's no major artery from the leg right there. It goes up as you get closer to your pelvic bone. But yeah, this is pretty serious, and I know that you were worried about, you know, execution and stuff like that. We don't have the death penalty in Wisconsin. Okay. You're 12 years old. I'm honest with you, I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen here. Okay. Something horrific happened today, and I know you realize that now.
I regret it.
Okay. But we've got to accept some responsibility here. And by giving me that statement, you're accepting some responsibility. You were very honest with me, and you cooperated with me, and that means...
Weir says she regrets what happened, but her response is perfunctory, like a child being told to say they are sorry.
A lot. That means a lot to Payton. Okay. So I'm going to go and talk to my supervisor, okay, and see what the next step is. Can I get you another water?
Sure.
Would you like another water? Do you want any food? Can I see what I can get for you?
Sure.
Are you hungry yet?
A little.
A little? Okay. Let me see what I can do for you, okay?
Okay.
Do you have to go to the bathroom?
No.
Okay. Hold on one moment.
Payton Leutner barely survived the attack. She sustained 19 knife wounds, several of which struck vital organs. A major artery to her heart was missed by less than a millimeter. Despite their age, Weir and Geyser were tried in an adult court. Both were determined to be mentally ill, but were later judged fit to stand trial. Anissa Weier, who was initially charged with attempted first-degree homicide, ended up with a lesser attempted second-degree homicide charge after a jury deemed her mentally ill at the time of the attack. She accepted a plea deal in 2017 and was sentenced to the maximum 25 years in a psychiatric facility. Her sentencing agreement allowed for her to apply for supervised release after spending at least 3 years at the Winnebago Mental Health Institute. Although she wasn't supposed to be released before she was 37, she was released in 2021 under the condition that she live with her father with GPS monitoring. Her internet usage is also being monitored, and she is not allowed to have contact with Geyser or Leutner. Morgan Geyser was sentenced to 40 years under the mental health facility's supervision. She will periodically have the opportunity to petition for her release in the future, but she will also remain under institutional care for the duration of her sentence. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, there is a Patreon link in the description where you can support the channel further. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.